Hey friends, hi from the gas station. I have wet hair because we are heading right to West Virginia. It is like 10 o'clock in the morning. I'm looking at a 5-hour drive heading to the middle of the state. We're going to be going through the mountains. There'll be some pretty scenery. I hope to stop on the side of the road and get some good scenic overlooks. But this begins my West Virginia vlog. We're heading to Weston, which is a city I've been to once before, but it's been a very long time. I want to say like 10 years. And we're going to go for our full asylum and prison tour. More details about that coming soon. But let's go ahead on the road. Talk to you guys later. Bye. All right, friends, we're doing a quick check-in. It is pouring rain. It is downpour, no visibility. I can barely even see the mountains. I'm currently in an Aldi parking lot in the Shenandoah Valley, picking up some provisions, and we're not going to be getting any footage of the mountains on my drive into West Virginia. So let's hope that on my way back, I can get some cool shots for you guys. But I've been driving for an hour. I still have about 3 more to go. But I can already see the kind of the haze and the mist on the mountains when I see them. So that's cool. But yeah, I just want to let you know, I didn't forget about the footage. There just isn't any. Yay. Alright friends, we're here. We made it to Weston, West Virginia. Here in my hotel room, but we're not going to stay very long because let's go get a first glimpse of the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, which is what we're doing out here in West Virginia. Tomorrow morning, I go for my full day guided tour of all the buildings. I'll explain more about that tomorrow. And we're gonna go, I can't have my first glimpse of the asylum be tomorrow morning when I'm getting ready for the tour and when we're all being shuttled into the building. And plus it's roughly like, 2-3 o'clock, so I have the rest of the day. The asylum is open for tours in general. I thought about just getting a walk-up tour just because, or at least going to their gift shop, but let's see what happens. Let's see what parking is like too, because I don't know the parking situation super well. But I'll take you guys along regardless. Let's go. Hey guys, how you doing? I'm doing a debrief from my car. I have the Kirkbride Asylum, a Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum behind me. As you can tell, it is pouring rain. It was thunderstorming to high heaven when we went to the first floor and then the basement levels of this asylum. I did do a short tour today just as a regular tourist before my lockdown tomorrow. As you can tell, it is quite humid. I got rained on, but also there's no air conditioning in the building itself. So I just want to take a minute to do a little bit of a debrief about how the tour went. We went to what became the criminally insane unit and the occupational art therapy, as well as the lobotomy recovery areas. I was just beyond thrilled, as you can imagine, doing a tour here. I was very wide-eyed. A lot of this stuff I did know because I'm a Kirkbride scholar, but I need you guys to understand, and I'll put some photos here. I'm standing in a place that is so intact, so untouched. I learned that the actual owners of this facility, their names are the Jordans, the Jordan family. All they really did was stabilize the building and remove all the asbestos, which is why you can go to all the floors and the outbuildings because they took so much time and money and effort to make it safe for people. There was no electricity. It was so dark. It was literally insane. Like I'm not even doing a play on words here. It was very wild. And then having the thunder and lightning, some rain was coming in through the old windows. Shocking to learn how many patients currently reside at the local psychiatric facility who were transferred out of here in 1994 and who are still alive and still very much, they're very young people. Because we look at this place and think, oh my goodness, it's an old Victorian asylum, but it was in operation until 1994. Crazy. So that's just my initial thoughts. The staff is very nice. They understand where they are. They understand the history here. There's no sensational talk. Okay, so I'm back for my full day at the asylum. It was still raining, still storming a bit, but actually it made for a fantastic ambiance. And I got some shots here of me in comparison to the actual complex. Now, this complex was created in 1858, and the first patients, 9 women, were admitted in October of 1864. It is the largest stone structure, a sandstone structure in the Western Hemisphere, which is pretty cool. There are over 22 million red clay bricks that are in the interior of the building, and they were all fired on site. Now, what's really fascinating and kind of sad is that, there is a pediatric ward, and so there were rooms dedicated to the children as well as the child spirits that remain. This is the original Civil War section, as I call it, so the patients that came in during the Civil War. It's really cool that there are a lot of signs that are still around from the asylum era. Here's me with the architect, Thomas Story Kirkbride. Kirkbride never actually was a doctor here, as many of us know. He just engineered and designed this blueprint that we lovingly call the Kirkbride Plan. And as you can see from all these photos of the wards, the general idea was that there were long corridors that allowed originally about 1 to 2 patients per room. When the Kirkbride buildings were designed, there was room for only 250 patients, if you can imagine that in a building this size. But the capacity quickly grew to over 2,000 in mid-20th century. Here's another example of those signs that were left untouched. This one is dated to March 1994, 2 months before the facility shut down. Now, as we ascended the stairs, because we were allowed access to all 4 floors of the asylum, the topmost floor was quite different. It looked a lot more unfinished, and it was super creepy, as you can see here. Lots of ghosts and spirits in this asylum. The asylum cat has been following us around, and as you can see, he was checking stuff out. But yeah, the 4th floor was designed for staff housing as well as trusted patients, so it looked a little different. There was this big auditorium, and you can see just how vast and massive the building really is. But there definitely were creepier vibes up here in the 4th floor. Now we see here there are the seclusion rooms, which is exactly what you think it is. It's essentially solitary confinement. And like I said, with this tour, the full 7-hour tour, we got to go to all 4 floors, including the sub-basement where the lobotomy recovery rooms were, as well as art and occupational therapy. We also got to go to the 4 outbuildings. That's the view from the outbuildings: the medical center, geriatric building, criminally insane building, and the women's auxiliary. So here's the medical center. It was a general hospital, and it was very flooded today. That's why it looks so wet. But essentially anyone from the community who had a disease or needed treatment was put into the medical center. Patients from the asylum were not brought here, so this was just for the community. This is the first x-ray machine in West Virginia. Looks different, right? But there was a lot of beautiful scenes here. We got some cool shots of like the afternoon sun, these original curtains that were just literally hanging out. And what fascinated me about this building was that the doors were wooden, which you wouldn't think in a medical building. The geriatric unit was extremely hot, which caused a lot of senior and elderly deaths when they were housed there in the later 20th century, because the architect who designed these buildings did not put in adequate air conditioning or heating. Now, one of the most scary parts of this entire tour was the criminally insane unit, which is exactly what you think it is. And you can see it's designed a lot like the geriatric building, which made the nursing home look kind of like a prison, right? And then here you can see there's evidence of patient graffiti kind of left over on the wall, which I found pretty cool, but also very scary. There were similar designs to the geriatric and medical center, including a lot of ramps and kind of avenues like that. Now, lastly, we went to the women's auxiliary building, which they're not entirely sure what this building was used for. There's no records about who was actually held here or what was done here, so it is essentially abandoned and pretty much falling apart. Now, friends, we're on the last bit of our journey here. We also went to the West Virginia Penitentiary, which opened in 1866 and closed in 1994. Now, I have footage from the outside here and a little bit on the inside, but fun fact, you guys, I actually made an entire Instagram reel about my visit to the prison, which I am linking down below. Along with the asylum about 2 hours away, this prison is one of the most haunted places in the United States and definitely in the state of West Virginia. In its last 50 years, from roughly the 1940s to 1990s, there were a documented 998 deaths alone. This was also home to many Satanists and members of the Aryan Brotherhood, so there are some quote-unquote famous people, including Charles Manson's mother. Charles Manson grew up nearby, and his mother was incarcerated here, and he visited her, actually. Then I ventured about 3 miles away from the prison to view the prison cemetery, which actually has unconventional headstones. Now, the river was kind of rushing a bit, so I couldn't get over there, but the headstones are actually license plate materials because license plates are one of the industries at the prison. So it was very solemn. 2,000 graves and only a couple hundred headstones. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm going to be posting more on Instagram and Substack, so make sure you follow me there. See you next time.